Welcome everyone to Triple S Reviews. In this video we're going to point by point review and break down Alien Earth Season 1 Episode 5. Fair warning, this video will contain spoilers. Now let's begin. Point number 1. 17 days? Now why does that ring a bell?
17 days.
17 days? Hey man, I don't want to rain on your parade. We're not going to last 17 hours.
Point number 2. With this shot, you can definitely see how the front of the Maginot resembles a Xeno head. Reminds me of how the Serenity looks like a horse in Firefly, or Serenity. Point number 3. The way Mr. Tang walks out of the cryo room reminds me of Michael McIntyre on Live at the Apollo.
It looks odd if you don't use this. Is odd, isn't it? This is odd.
Point number 4. I like how Morrow calls bullshit on a random fire breaking out, then drops his lit cigar down a hole where it could start a random fire. Point number 5. So when Petrovich was in the cargo hold opening the Xeno egg cases and sabotaging the wall panel, did he at no point allow any cameras anywhere to get a good look at his face? Point number 6. I wasn't expecting the sex jump scare during this emotional scene, but then I doubly wasn't expecting the facehugger during sex jump scare. That really got me. 10-10, no notes. Point number 7. So we get another split diopter shot with Zaveri and the monitor being both in focus. And this split diopter shot compared to the one in episode 2 with Kirsch and Nibs, I actually liked. I felt it actually worked here and didn't feel out of place. Point number 8. The stuff around this monitor makes no sense to me. Are they meant to be buttons? What's the difference between these bubble and bubble memory buttons and these two buffer buttons besides the layout of the letters? And why is this execute command button missing an E? Point number 9. Mine, and I know every Fallout fan's ears pricked up when we heard that oh so familiar guitar intro start playing. Alas though, it was not I don't want to set the world on fire, but instead we'll meet again, which will not happen with Morrow and his daughter. Point number 10. So we see Morrow has received letters from his daughter faxed to him by Weyland-Yutani, including one telling him about his daughter's death. Why then was he never sent a message about grandmother Yutani dying? Or that granddaughter Yutani has taken over the company? Could it really be that in all the excitement of the Maginot crashing and him escaping Prodigy, that he just forgot grandmother Yutani was most definitely dead? Point number 11.
What if you can't freeze these things? Their metabolism. We know they can survive in the cold vacuum of space, right?
Okay, we the audience know from like Alien Isolation and Alien Romulus, but how do these guys know that? Did they find the eggs on a planet, moon, or even asteroid with virtually no atmosphere? Could that be how they managed to transport the eggs without them all opening? Because if they did open and the facehuggers pulled a cane on them, the people they were trying to facehug wouldn't have survived. So many questions on how they were even able to capture all these highly dangerous aliens and transport them to the Maginot. The most common theory I see being that they did so by losing a lot of people in the process, which is what Shmuel said to Morrow in episode 1. Another theory is that they didn't go to various planets to capture the aliens, but just to pick up ones that had already been caught by others, which kind of conflicts with Shmuel saying we lost a lot of good men, so that theory might not be as likely. Point number 12. Following on from the idea that a lot of the crew have ended up dying due to capturing all the aliens, I've seen a lot of people on the r/LV426 subreddit theorize that this could be the main reason why almost everyone that we see left on the ship are complete fucking morons. Especially Chibuzo. I mean, immediately she's breaking the cardinal sin of eating and drinking in the lab. This is a crime punishable by death. She's also not wearing any protective gear, opens the top of the tick container before picking up the dead rat to put in, and never has the actual lid of the container on until being reminded of it. Her idiotic carelessness leads to her, Rahim, Malachite, and Shmuel all dying. Although, when it comes to herself and Rahim dying, he also shares part of the blame since neither of them thought it'd be a good idea to put on some PPE. Even Ash and Dallas put on some PPE in Alien when looking at the facehugger on Kane. Though saying that Ash is a synth, so it makes sense he would think to do that, what with being smarter than your average human. In any case, what Rahim says to Mr. Tang about bringing parasitic aliens home is proof of how stupid smart people can be. Really feels like the writers poking fun at how that's most plots of alien movies, why this crew acts the way they do, and at Cavalier, who appears to be acting smarter than he actually is last episode, what with him getting Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke mixed up, and essentially pointing himself out as the main target to the Ocellus. Point number 13. Speaking of the Ocellus, I know a lot of people, myself included, thought that Ocellus was actually trying to warn Chibuzo about the escaped tick. But according to series creator Noah Hawley on the official Alien Earth podcast on the FX Network's YouTube channel,
you know, one of the things that the season has introduced in what we call the image is a hyper-intelligent creature that strategizes. And so what I liked playing with was how the image could take advantage of, say, seeing the ticks escape and then drawing attention to itself to allow them to do their thing.
Okay, first off, I'm not calling it that. And second, this means the Ocellus is not a nice gal, like I theorised she might be. And her and the Xenos aren't the only intelligent aliens since the Tick figured out how to open the hatch on the container. Though I definitely wouldn't say it's as intelligent as the Ocellus or a Xeno. Point number 14. With how messed up their situation is with 2 people dead, a saboteur on board an escaped alien and being low on fuel, everyone doesn't seem as freaked out as you'd expect them to be. Which gives weight to the idea that the smartest people on the crew were the ones who died capturing the aliens, and this is all that's left. A gaggle of idiots. Point number 15. This fake out with the chain looking like a Xeno tail is so cheesy but also so fun. It's like laying in your bed in the dark and being convinced the pile of clothes on your chair is actually a Xeno because you can't see it properly. Point number 16. Mr. Teng is such an anomaly that a lot of people can't figure out if he's a creepy synth or a creepy meatbag. As established by Michael McIntyre, he walks like a weirdo, Raheem calls him a robot, and his general demeanour is very synth-like. But then he also eats and smokes, apparently jerks it in the cryo room, and screams in terror when he sees the Xeno, which isn't very synth-like. And presumably, he's known this entire time who the saboteur probably is, since the pod next to Sullivan's, the woman Teng jerks it to, is Petrovich's. So if Teng ever went into the cryo room to perv over Sullivan whilst Petrovich was out when he shouldn't have been, then he would have noticed. Just like how Zaveri would have noticed if she'd looked around when she went to visit Bronsky earlier in the episode. So Teng probably knew, but decided not to tell anyone. I guess he wasn't concerned about the ship being blown up or being forced to crash. Point number 17. I wonder which way around Petrovich and Cavalier ending up communicating happened. Did Cavalier find out about the Maginot's mission, find out everything he could about the crew, then contact the one he thought most likely to betray Yutani? Or did Petrovich get into contact with Cavalier due to losing his woman and wanting a new body? In any case, this explains how Morrow was able to figure out how Slightly and Smee were machines but not machines. Point number 18.
Petrovich's right.
I guess Morrow doesn't have that great a memory and doesn't remember sitting at the dinner table with Petrovich back in episode 1. Point number 19. I'm sorry, how many ticks are loose on this ship? So what, did all but 2 die in the crash? Because there's no way Prodigy found them all if more than the 2 we've seen at Neverland survived. Plus we've seen there was actually more than one alien plant on the Maginot, so did Prodigy secure both? If not, what happened to the second? And on top of all of that, where did the Xeno eggs we see in episodes 2 and 3 come from? Were they all brought on board by the Maginot crew, but then why are they out of their containers like this? Did the Xeno take them out, or is this show reintroducing the idea of egg morphing and these eggs are made from the bodies of the dead crew? Point number 20. So why didn't the Xeno kill Zaveri immediately, and how the hell did she manage to outrun it? Bad writing or an indication that the Xeno likes to torment its victims, it likes to chase, it likes to hunt, kinda like a predator or a cat. Still doesn't explain why it spared Morrow though in episode 2. No, I will not let this go. Point number 21. We finally get to see the Ocellus having replaced the eye of a human. And while in the moment I was like, say something, in hindsight, I'm actually glad it didn't. That's not to say I don't want to hear the Ocellus speak, I just think this wasn't the right time for it. I actually like the idea that since Cavalier wants someone as smart or smarter than him to talk to, that the Ocellus will take control of someone, maybe Dame Sylvia for a dose of irony, and then have a chat with Cavalier. Point number 22. While the Ocellus seems to not care for the life of other beings, since it doesn't mind taking control of them and killing them in the process, its motives still seem like a mystery since it appears to attack Zaveri, but it only knocks her out, it doesn't kill her or do anything else to her. Then, when Morrow has it at taser point, it growls a bunch as if calling out to something. Then the Xeno reappears, implying the Ocellus was trying to get its attention. But then when Morrow runs off, the Ocellus attacks the Xeno instead of also running away. This little lady is just so confusing. Point number 23. I love the Xeno gets a taste of its own medicine, being bitten by the Ocellus and then essentially face-hugged as well. And speaking of the Ocellus jumping on the Xeno's face, it brings to mind theories I've seen on r/LV426 that maybe this is the reason the Xeno has no eyes. With Xenos being the perfect predator, or perfect prey if you are a predator, though not like a Teng predator but a Yautja. Where was I? Oh yeah, since the Xeno is meant to be the perfect predator, Did it develop having no eyes to combat the Ocellus and having acid blood to combat the ticks? If the Xeno is a naturally occurring life form, did they, the Ocellus and ticks all evolve on the same planet then? Or if we go the Prometheus and Alien Covenant direction that Xenos were engineered, did whoever engineered them intentionally incorporate these defenses? Also, something else the subreddit mentioned, if you think about the 3 wise monkeys, you cover your mouth to stop a facehugger, you cover your eyes to stop the Ocellus, but which alien do you cover your ears to stop? Point number 24. Hang on. How long has actually passed since the start of the episode when it says 17 days from Earth? Has Morrow been in the impact room for close to 17 days? Is it like a cryopod? And if the Xeno really wanted to get to Morrow, why didn't it just scratch itself a bit to bleed an acid hole down to him? Point number 25. So I was right that there was a much deeper connection between Morrow and grandmother Yutani, and how she was able to get him to leave his wife and daughter to go on a 65-year-long mission. He owed her a lot. Now, we just need to find out if Kumi was a name given to him by her, or with it being both Ghanaian and Japanese. Point number 26. This arbitration meeting Yutani mentions, I think we've already seen shots from. In episode 1, when the crew of the Maginot are talking about the 5, we see the heads of the companies around a table, and with Yutani is Morrow and the guy Yutani tells to give Morrow whatever he wants. Final thoughts. This episode is a departure from focusing on Neverland and the Lost Boys, and a nice departure in my opinion. I agree with everyone saying this episode felt like a reimagining of the first Alien movie condensed down to an hour, but I've also seen criticisms that this episode feels like filler and is pretty pointless since, as we know what happens to the Maginot, there's no stakes. I, however, disagree. I feel this episode was very important, especially in the realm of fleshing out Morrow's character. Up to now, he's been shown to be pretty much a villain, with his only one redeeming moment being when he warns Mr. Teng about getting too close to Sullivan. Though even then, he might have just been doing that not out of being a good person, but because it's his job. Now though, we've learned his tragic backstory of how he was a homeless child, and how his daughter died not due to old age whilst he was away for 65 years, but in a fire when she was 19. While he's a hardass on Zaveri being in charge, he doesn't forcibly remove her from command, and he does try to keep everyone alive till they can reach Earth. He doesn't immediately abandon everyone to die to the Xeno, as what we saw in episode 1 implied. He's essentially the extreme version of Hermit. He's an indentured servant to a company doing questionable things to pay off a debt. As for the other characters, I want to offer a retraction about what I said concerning how the show wasted Michael Smiley for such a small role as Shmuel. He was great at this episode, trying to trick the kid into giving him half of his pie, standing up for Zaveri being the one in charge, and he can now tell people he has had an alien eyeball in his head and that he's fought and bit a xenomorph. Speaking of Zaveri, you would think she'd be the one who'd most be the Ripley equivalent on the Maginot, but I think that comparison would actually go to Morrow. Obviously, he's the last survivor of the Maginot, but he also tries to lay down the law of dealing with the aliens and lost his daughter whilst out in space for years. I wouldn't say Zaveri has a comparison to anyone from the Nostromo. She's just her own rule-breaking, doing the best she can, vulnerable self. The actors for the rest of the crew also gave great performances, with weird as fuck Mr. Teng probably being the most memorable. But for me, I really enjoyed Amir Botros as Rahim. I just loved hearing him speak whenever he was on screen. I also enjoyed it seeing the Xeno do its Xeno thing. I know a lot of people didn't like how it looks just like a man in a suit, but I didn't mind it myself. I can suspend my disbelief enough to accept that it's an alien that's meant to resemble a human body shape wise. Speaking of Alien but the movie, I noticed a few direct references to the first movie throughout this episode. Just like Big Chap, Petrovich gets around not by using the halls but instead the ducts and such. The doing surgery on Malachite scene is shot like Ash and Dallas trying to get the facehugger off of Kane. Clem describes the Xeno as being big just like Parker did, and Morrow impaling Petrovich on his blade and lifting him into the air really made me think of when a Xeno would do that to someone with its tail. And speaking of Alien but the Xeno, I can't wait to see what Wendy is up to with her chestburster in the next episode. To round all this off, my favourite part of the entire episode was the Ocellus Xeno fight. I mean, what else is there to say? An alien eye piloting a meat mech, fist fighting and biting a Xeno. How much awesomer can you get than that? Thank you everyone for watching Triple S Reviews. If you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, give it a like to let me know, and if you want to see more then make sure to subscribe. I also have a variety channel where I post a variety of different videos. If any of them interest you, check them out. I've been Triple S, you've all been amazing, and I shall see you all in the next video.